Welcome to the MPAC Zoomcast. I'm Ed Kirchdoerffer, Chief Operating Officer here at Mayo Performing Arts Center. We're recording this on Friday, April 26th. But on Wednesday, May 15th, we will be presenting Lyle Lovett and Lisa Loeb in Conversation and Song, a unique collaboration in which these two popular singer-songwriters will be swapping stories and songs on stage. We are joined today by one half of that dynamic duo, Lisa Loeb. Hey, Lisa, how's it going?
Good, really good. I'm happy to be talking to you.
Thank you so much for giving us a few minutes of your time today. Tell us what In Conversation and Song is.
Well, it means talking like we're doing right now, and then playing songs. Like it's going to be a really great format, actually, because I think for people, I think often when I play in theaters, which is often where I play, like in really nice theaters where we're going to be, um, it's just a great listening environment. And usually there's the person who wants to be there, who's a fan, and the person they brought with them, their date. And this is a fun night because I know from the minute I saw Lyle Lovett perform, I was a fan of his before I met him. I was a fan of his in college. And then I met him in the 90s. I opened for him on his Road to Ensenada tour, and I watched him play every night. And I got to know, I knew some of his music, but his music is the kind of music that when you listen to, you hear the stories themselves. He's a great storyteller, and it really drew me in. And from what I hear, I do the same thing. So I think the two of us talking to each other, and I get to listen. I mean, it's going to be a treat for me. I get to sit and listen to him play a song and say, we'll talk. And then whatever we're talking about probably will remind me of something that I might want to sing about. Um, I usually play some of the songs that are popular of mine from the radio because I know as a fan, I like to see some of the songs that are familiar, songs that I already know. So I'll definitely include some of those. But I think it's just going to be an enjoyable evening for
Mhm.
people who like music.
Now, have you done this tour with him previously? Is this a new collaboration for you and him?
I did sort of something like this during COVID times. He plays with a big band, he plays with his acoustic band, he does all these different versions of his own music. But during COVID, he did a great thing, which was he would play like kind of like what we're doing now with a split screen. He would sing and play, and then he'd have a guest. And I did that. So we did a similar thing during COVID. And it went really well. And again, I think people really enjoyed watching it. I know I watched some of them while making dinners during COVID time. So we've done it in that way. So I think it's going to work really well. It's something that Lyle's done with other artists as well. And it seems to be a good format.
We've had Lyle here in this format with John Hyatt and
Oh,
going way back with John Hyatt, Joe Ely, and Guy Clark.
so
Uh,
like a songwriter in the round. So you know
yeah,
exactly what is it. So you would know better than I. Like, is it what I'm saying? Like, that's what's going to
yeah,
happen?
and Lyle's such a interesting personality and a
Yeah.
great storyteller. And I'm just curious, because I know this is a one-off. You're doing a series of dates. If the
Yeah.
conversation, how the conversation may change from one venue to another based on maybe the night before or whatever.
I know, right? I think it's going to be different. When I was a child, I was very shy and I barely spoke. And as I got older, I decided I wasn't going to be shy anymore when I was about 15. And my friends and I started interviewing bands and stuff back in Dallas.
Hmm.
And now, but at this point, I talk to random people in elevators. I'm like that weird businessman who's like, "Hey, so how's the weather out there?" And my kids are really embarrassed. So I think between that and Lyle's conversational skills and just so much experience and so many things to talk about, I think it'll vary from night to night. Some stories are too good to leave out, and you end up telling a similar story that you
Hmm.
might have told before just because it's a good one. But um, there's also different connections in different cities. Like for me, Morristown is actually a place I have a lot of connection. About over like 30 years ago, I dated a guy named Juan Patino, who
Hmm.
was my co-producer, and in some cases we wrote some songs together. He grew up in Mountain Lakes. And so a
Hmm.
ton of his friends are from that area and people I've known for over 30 years. And we're going to have some other friends at the show. So there's such a great connection there. And just that itself, I think makes a show different from a different city.
Hmm. Do you said you're gonna, do a lot of the songs that people are familiar. If you
Yeah,
don't,
a few of those. Yeah.
we get the letters, saying, how come she
I know,
didn't?
like, how come they didn't play that song? I
Uh,
agree. It's like when I go see a certain band, I want to hear certain songs too.
yeah. Do you anticipate having like a looser set list and kind of going where the flow of the conversation with Lyle goes,
Yeah,
maybe adjusting?
definitely. I mean, that's sort of, I mean, my shows lately are generally me with an acoustic guitar, although I still play with my band sometimes, um, and play in other, again, like Lyle, sometimes I'll play with an orchestra or just one other musician. But I usually have a set list drawn up that I feel like it's going to be a map so that, you don't, sometimes I go see bands and I'm like, oh, are they still playing the same song? It's like too many songs that are too similar in a row. It's kind of
Mm.
like programming an album or a CD. There's just a flow that feels right. But with conversation breaking it up, it makes more sense. I mean, there's certain songs I really enjoy playing that I want to share that I'll probably play, but there's so many more songs in my catalog that I like to play than normally fit in a set.
Mm.
So, and also in my set, I usually have a chunk of it is requests from the audience
Mm.
usually of my own music. But so it's something I'm kind of used to doing, and it's something I'm comfortable and familiar with.
Do you have any anticipation of maybe doing some duets with Lyle, or is it going to be more of a trade-off back and
You
forth?
know, we're gonna see.
Yeah.
We'll see.
Mm-hmm.
That's the answer.
Mm-hmm. You've had a very successful and eclectic career. I am going to tick off a few things that are on your bio just to tell people everything you've done, because they know you as a chart-topping singer-songwriter. You're also a children's performer, a
Mhm.
Sirius XM satellite host. Uh, you've written a children's musical, voice talent, your eyewear line, actor. Did you anticipate a mom, most important, a mom? And did you ever anticipated when you started off all those years ago that you would be going in so many different divergent directions in your career?
I don't know. I don't think of things like that. I think I've ever since I was a kid, I just did all the things that I loved. So when I was, and when I talk to old friends, I have a lot of old friends from when I was born or when I was a little kid. They said it's always been this way. I've always done like a million things. I've been an actor. I'm an actor and a dancer and I'm a writer. And if there's something I'm really interested in, I do it, or I find friends and we find ways to do things. So luckily, because I started in a really um, independently directed kind of way, I just continue doing that. I have so many interesting and creative people come to me with interesting ideas and collaborations, whether they're art things or charitable things or things that have nothing to do with music. And then I also come up with a lot of ideas of things that I want to do or places I want to go. And so I just get to do all of that. It's just in my nature, I think.
Yeah. So what's next then? What's next for at least a little after this tour?
Well, I can't tell you exactly because that's one other thing I've realized. Don't tell people what you're doing until it's already happening,
Mm-hmm.
because then they keep asking you, when is that book going to be done? When is that record going to be done? When is that
Mm-hmm.
TV show going to be on TV? So I do have a lot of different things in the works, but for now I'm focusing on the 30th anniversary of my song Stay
Mm-hmm.
being on the radio, and we have a lot of interesting things coming out around that'll be happening. And then also a lot of touring. As a mom, I'm doing a lot of touring. As a musician, I could be doing more touring, but I'm going out on the road a little bit more,
Mm-hmm.
and I continue to have my daily radio show on Sirius XM 90s on 9, as well as interviewing a lot of interesting bands and actors and sort of cultural icons, people you may know from the 90s, but who are still doing things today. It's a podcast called Where They Are Now that you
Mm-hmm.
can get on Sirius XM app.
Great. How do you think, you said it's been 30 years since Stay. How has the music industry changed over that time? Do you think if you were starting out today versus 30 years ago, that it would be tougher, easier?
I think it'd be the same. It's funny. I think I would approach it exactly as I did back then, which was um, write music, learn how to use the recording studio, at least well enough so I can collaborate well in the studio, if not record my own music. Be really involved in the behind the scenes things, reaching out to people who you can figure out how to share your music with, whether it's playing shows or getting songs on the radio or whatever version of on the radio means these days, having videos, making things for YouTube. Um, Connecting with fans in a way that feels comfortable to me, that makes sense with the kind of art or whatever projects I'm doing. Working with major labels where that makes sense. Um, Doing things independently where it makes sense. Trying not to be, beholden to any kind of specific genre or art form. So I think I'd probably do things similarly. Uh, it's funny. I think one thing that does happen when you're in the 90s and you get signed to a major label, back then, that felt like I had a real job if I had a major label deal. But I had also been warned and advised by a number of people in the business who said that's not the end, and you got to keep your eyes open because everything's not tied up in a bow and you live happily ever after. It's a business and you really have to keep your eye on the ball. And I do, and that's again, in my nature. So, I don't know. I think the amount of reach you can have to an audience now is amazing. You can make a record and put it out later in the day. You don't have to go through a major label to do that. Although when a major label's working well, you can reach a lot of people, and that's really exciting too. But anyway, I think, things have changed a lot. It's okay to be in direct contact with your fans. It's okay to be a business person as well as an artist. And these things work for me well. I like that.
Mhm. Back on in conversation and song with Lyle Lovett, what do you hope that somebody walks away with when they leave the theater after seeing the concert?
Well, hopefully, a good nap. No, I'm just kidding. Hopefully they won't be sleeping. I hope they enjoy themselves. I hope they have moments of nostalgia. I hope they have, reconnecting moments with old songs. And also, I have a number of newer songs that mean a lot to me from my album called A Simple Trick to Happiness. And they're songs that I wrote because the messages in them and the things that are important to me, I feel like you can carry them with you throughout the day. So hopefully you'll feel uplifted as well and connected and connect. I think between Lila and I connecting with each other and us connecting with the audience, you'll have that feeling, that uplifted feeling, even if you might have gone through some sad emotions or emotional emotions during the show. You'll walk out feeling connected.
Great. We've been talking with Lisa Loeb, who will be at MPAC on Wednesday, May 15th with Lyle Lovett. Tickets are available at mayoarts.org. Lisa, where can people find out more information about you?
People can always find out information about me at my website, Lisa Loeb, LOEB.com, or on all my socials at Lisa Loeb.
And what was the name of that podcast?
It's called Where They Are Now.
Great.
On SiriusXM.
Well, thank you again for joining us. We look forward to seeing you here at MPAC on the 15th.
Thank you so much.